EAFC is here, except it's not entirely here. If you have the Ultimate Edition or you've bought into EA Play for the 10 hours early access, you can play EAFC Ultimate Team. But if you bought into the Standard Edition, you need to wait until September 29th. This means that there is an opportunity for those who are already currently playing. There are things that you can do within game which is going to expire by the release of the Standard Edition, as well as there's some things that you can get prepared for which could potentially increase in value by the time the game has fully released. And in today's video, we're going to be going through absolutely everything. But before we do, let's talk about today's sponsor, U4GM. U4GM offers cheap, fast and reliable EAFC coins so that you don't need to go through all the trading methods that we show on this channel. Instead, you use the link in the description down below, select how many coins you want, the platform that you play on, and once you get to checkout, make sure you use code Fanatic to get a 5% discount. So much easier than the countless hours you'll need to spend trading. Link to U4GM can be found in the description down below. Now let's get back to preparing. So the first thing that's worth aiming for is to have a full goal team, and for most, I assume you already have this. It's a lot easier with the Ultimate Edition as you do get 4,600 FC points, which of course can either be used going through packs that are available in the store, or you can even go through draft, single player or online. Yet again, giving you pack rewards, even if you were to go out in the very first round. This automatically gives you a massive boost ahead, allowing you to get gold players. Now, for the team that you've built, it doesn't need to be absolutely insane. You don't need to be dealing with some of the highest rated players within Ultimate Team, and it doesn't need to be full chemistry. It's just a case of getting a full gold team, because by the time the Standard Edition releases, you can class those who do get the Standard Edition as not being so much of hardcore players, so to speak. They're likely not as dedicated to the game as you, and in most cases, they're not going to be as confident when it comes to gameplay. They may not even understand the rule set of Ultimate Team. This could be their very first year. There'll be an increase in the amount of people going into division rivals with their starter team. And if you've already got a full goal team, it gives you a slight advantage. You still need to play better than them, but you get the point. The second thing to do is to start going through squad battles. Yes, of course, it's worth going through division rivals, but based on our previous points, you're more likely to find some easier games after the release of the Standard Edition. The reason we want to highlight squad battles is because the point system is based on the average amount of players playing. It's not done on a tier system where you must get a specific amount of points, because the points will always change and update every few minutes. Instead, it's based on percentages. For you to get Elite 1, you need to be in the top 3% of squad battles with your points. And even though there are many people playing Ultimate Team, even with the Ultimate Edition, it's still a fraction of what will be available by the time the Standard Edition releases. That just means for this week and also the week that just passed, squad battles is going to have a lower average amount of points for you to hit those higher ranks compared to what it will be after the release of the Standard Edition. That's when you will need to play more games in order for you to achieve the exact same rank, or you're going to have to increase the game difficulty. My recommendation is for you to go through division rivals, win 3 or even 7 games. After that point, you're not going to increase your reward by that much. So anytime you have remaining, it's better to go through squad battles until the full release of the Standard Edition, which is when you can move back over to division rivals and just compete in some very easy games to rank up through divisions. The third thing to do is to start building up your coin balance. Of course, naturally with those 2 previous points, you're going to do this. You're going to do this regardless of what you do within game. But what I'm really trying to push you to do is to start some trading methods. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. You can go through some bulk bidding methods, some sniping methods, or even the silver method that we've shown here on the channel. In fact, there are videos already available on the channel which go through all 3 of these. You can check out the risk-free trading methods, which will go over bulk bidding and sniping, and also within the Ultimate Beginner's Guide, we've also gone over the silver trading method, which is insanely profitable at this time of the year. Those free methods are beginner friendly and you can make a hell of a lot of coins. I've already made over 200,000 coins in profit and I haven't been taking these methods that seriously. But regardless of whether or not you use one of these free trading methods or you go and find something else, the main thing is just to start trading and build up your coin balance, because trading is going to lead to a lot more coins per hour compared to you playing games. With those coins, it now moves us on to the next point, which is to complete SBCs. Not every single one of them is important, but there are some right now which are available up until the standard edition releases. The second it does release, they will have expired. EA has already released a De Bruyne, which has a very good card. And unfortunately for those who do get the standard edition, this card will not be available by the time they get access. So if you're playing the Ultimate Edition and you want this De Bruyne, build up that coin balance, buy those players, and complete this SBC before it's too late. That can also be said with any other SBCs EA releases, if they do release any between now and the release of the standard edition. There are also some SBCs which are just worth going through. For example, Marquee Matchups. Marquee Matchups is a great way for you to submit players that you already have in your club or just to buy some players for cheap. These SBCs as a whole, there's not that much demand for them compared to what there used to be years ago, but they are still profitable. Even if you get absolutely nothing good from your packs, based on how cheap it is to complete these, you will still be making profit. And there's also occasions where EA will release a one-off SBC where you can be rewarded with a pack, and those fall under the exact same lines as Marquee Matchups, so to speak. They are extremely cheap, extremely easy, take just a few minutes, and even if you get nothing good, as long as you've completed it for cheap, you will be profitable. So do them. And then the final thing to do is to invest any remaining coins. How you invest is entirely up to you. There are loads of different channels and communities out there which dedicate themselves to making coins and investing before any major events or promos get released. Normally they're dependent on leaks. Myself, I don't have time to join all of these communities, so I keep things very simple and vanilla. I will invest within any type of SBC fodder. So this will be gold players, 83 rated and above. I will buy one of each for as cheap of a price as I can get them. Now, because this is a new year, price ranges aren't exactly perfect for every single player. There are some 83 rated players where their minimum is 2,700 coins, in which they're not even selling at that price. They're expiring every single time. So not every single player is worth buying into. But once you start finding 83 rated players less than 1,000 coins and you start to build up with 84, 85, 86, and they're still relatively cheap, it's worth buying into them and just holding one of each. Similar to this, it's also worth buying into desirable players, players that look relatively good within game and can perform great within game, but for whatever reason, they just look underpriced. There are quite a few high rated players, we're talking 88, 89, even 90, where they're valued less than 100,000 coins. This one is slightly riskier because there's no guarantee that a player will increase, but from my point of view, as the fact that it is still the beginning of the year, it's worth the risk. Worst case scenario, the player does not increase in value and instead they go down, but you still get a player which could be relatively good within game. Last year within FIFA 23 on the release, Erling Haaland was going for about 30,000 coins. By the time we got to the standard edition just before, he was about 100,000 coins. A few weeks after the standard edition release, he was up to about 300 to 400,000 coins. If you bought one or two of them, you're doing amazing already at the beginning of the year. Unfortunately, I was one of those people that managed to go and buy into him. Now this year, Haaland's already starting off at a much higher price, likely meaning that he's not all of a sudden going to increase that much in value. But that doesn't mean that there isn't any other players within the game that people have not explored yet. I'm more looking towards female players, as that is the new thing this year, and a completely unexplored player base within game, which if you manage to go and figure that out and who are some of the better players, you could be on top of the world, so to speak. And the final thing that I invest in is any type of cheap special cards, mainly Team of the Weeks. With Team of the Weeks, you can get a lot within Team of the Week 1, which go for about 10,000 coins, their minimum. And even though there won't all of a sudden be a huge amount of demand for these players after the standard edition releases, what tends to happen is as weeks go on, all of a sudden Team of the Week players gradually increase, especially the older ones. This is because people will buy into these players to go and use for SBCs, and once they submit them for SBCs, they're gone forever. So slowly supply starts to diminish, but demand stays the same because they will always be needed for SBCs. You can go and take a look at FootWiz, which is a player database, look back at some of the previous years and look at some of the early Team of the Weeks and go forward to November, December, January, February, March, whenever it may be, and you can see how these players increase over time. It's always been the case, and even though people will say it's not going to happen this year, they also said that last year, the year before, the year before that, the year before that, and every other year. And every other year it has happened. So I'm not going to stop this process. Still buying into some of the cheap Team of the Weeks, buy one of each, store them into my club, and just hold them. They're not going to shoot up all of a sudden, but they will gradually increase, which is more than what could be said for the rest of the transfer market. But here are all the things that you should be doing before the standard edition releases. By doing this, you're going to put yourself ahead of everyone else in terms of your overall team, the cards that you have, the level in which you can play at, and also your overall coin balance. If you're still struggling to start, then I highly recommend clicking the video on screen. That is the ultimate beginner's guide, and it'll take you step by step from the moment you start all the way to earning your first 100k in a very quick time. So click that and I'll be over there to guide you through absolutely everything.